So this is kind of an important day. Or so I've heard. At least I know there's cake. It's an important day not just for me, but I think maybe for you guys too. 1 week from today, I hope you'll vote to call me as your next settled minister. It's a big step for both of us, one that neither of us should enter into lightly, but rather deliberately, thoughtfully, and with intention. Your search committee has done much of the work on your behalf. Over the last year plus, they've been working really hard, asking questions, holding focus groups, doing congregational surveys, requesting and analyzing data, putting together PowerPoints, doing websites, and then mysteriously bringing in candidates for weekend visits. They've kept you up to date as to what they've been doing, at least in general terms, but they wouldn't tell you who they'd been talking to. And then April 8th, they make this announcement that your ministerial candidate is somebody named Constance Simon. And for some of you, it might have been, well, who is she? I've never heard of her. What's she like? Why does she even want to be our minister? Well, the search committee put together a lot of information about me and provided you with links to several of my sermons and some stories about me. And I know you've been looking at it. Many of you reached out through Facebook and Instant Messenger. And the administrator at the Unitarian Society of Germantown, where I am the intern, said, our YouTube watch rate really went through the roof. So yesterday, I flew in, I met with the MVP team, and then had dinner with the board and their spouses. And over the course of the evening, they had the opportunity to ask me questions. They could ask me anything they wanted, and boy, did they. Everything from, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite ice cream? And how would I bring spirituality to this congregation? And by the way, the answers are purple and vanilla, and a lot of ways, and we'll talk more about that next week. We talked and laughed together and got to know one another just a little bit better. And this coming week, I'll have the chance to do that with all of you. Because I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and so do I. So when we're together, please feel free to ask whatever it is you want to know, and I'll do my best to answer. This morning, I want to share with you some thoughts that I've had about ministry in general. Kind of what it's about, and who I am as a person, and how that translates into my vision of ministry. And how those things have brought us all together and brought me to this point at this time. Sound fair? Okay. So I think ministry means different things to each of us. If I asked any 10 of you what ministry is, I'd probably get 10 different answers. For some, ministry is simply preaching and praying and performing rites of passage, doing weddings and funerals. I challenge that definition. I think ministry is a lot more than that. Ministry is living within our principles, not because we get anything out of it, not because we gain in any way, but because we believe it's the right thing to do. Ministry is embracing and living in that which we consider sacred or divine, not for others, but for ourselves. Gandhi said we should be the change we want to see in the world. In my mind, that very act of being is ministry. Ministry is teaching others, preparing them to do the necessary work of our congregations and our world. It's giving them the skills, the strength, and the support they need to be in community with others, showing others what is possible in this world. This teaching could happen as a result of your mere being, through the example that you set for others, or it could be more intentional, maybe happening through an adult or children's RE class, or a discussion group, small group ministry, or support group. In that regard, ministers are teachers. Now this next one, ministry is evangelizing. Now I know that's a charged term in a lot of circles because many equate it with fanaticism, extremism, or think that it only applies to fundamental Christians. It also means supporting something enthusiastically, telling people what you think is good about a particular thing. In that regard, part of ministry, part of being a UU minister, is telling people what's good about Unitarian Universalism. Amen. Not in a pushy way, not in a disrespectful way, but there's nothing wrong with telling people who we are. I don't have a problem with telling people that Unitarian Universalism promotes the inherent worth and dignity of every person, that Unitarian Universalism supports protecting our environment, that Unitarian Universalism honors each person's search for their own personal truth, that Unitarian Universalism supports immigration justice, ending racism, LGBTQ rights. I have no problem at all sharing who we are, evangelizing. Because to me, that's part of ministry. Ministry is being in community with others. Whether in a one-on-one conversation, or doing Q&A over dinner, or preaching from the pulpit. It's being there for someone else, offering a comforting ear, or a hug, or your mere presence in times of distress. It's picking up the phone when someone just needs to talk. It's having a conversation with a toddler or sitting by the bedside of someone who's dying. Being that person with whom someone can share their good news, their fears, their heartbreak. That's being in community with others and participating in the lives of those around you. That's ministry. Now, ministry isn't something that you only do at church on Sundays. If you haven't figured that out so far, ministry is kind of a full-time thing. Chris Patton describes it as an attitude and action of serving others all the time. That works for me. And that's how I've tried to live my life, in service to others. All of the things that I've done, all the different positions that I've had, have all been very intentional and chosen so that I could be of service to others. That's one of my core values, along with knowledge, integrity, and love. I'm in a constant state of learning and becoming, at least trying to become, anyway, a better person, but just simply becoming. Those of you out there who are theology geeks might appreciate that I consider myself a process theologian, meaning that we're always becoming. We never stop being. We're always changing. And I know that I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, despite all the nice things the search committee says about me. I don't know everything. Nobody does. And as the world constantly changes around us, we're all constantly learning and changing right along with it. Or at least I hope we are. Because the minute we stop listening and stop learning and stop changing is the minute we stop living. For me, integrity is invaluable. Professional stature, wealth, beauty, those things are all impermanent and fleeting. My personal integrity, though, is permanent. It's the only thing I truly own. And I learned from a very, very young age to value that. And love, well, love in a way, love is all there is. It has the power to heal, to redeem, to transform anything and everything it touches. Love guides me, it teaches me, and it protects me. Love is my divine. So, how does all this fit together? What is Connie's ministry? I still don't get it. So let me tell you what I want. I want to live in a world where it doesn't matter who you love or the color of your skin or where you were born. I want to live in a world where it doesn't matter what you look like or what your physical abilities are. I want to live in a world where it doesn't matter how many degrees you have or whether you have any at all. Where it doesn't matter who you voted for or where or if you go to church. I want to live in a world where it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. I want to live in a world where everyone has equal access to real opportunity, where everyone is empowered to have, do, and be the best they can. I want to live in a world where all are simply loved just because they are, just because they exist. I want to live in a world where we sing, "Come, come, whoever you are," and we really mean it. That's the world I want to live in. But we're not there yet. Some of us have been working toward this for years, and there's still a lot of hurt and oppression and injustice in this world. Some of us are tired. Some of us don't know what to do next. Some of us want to give up. Some days it feels like we'll never realize that ideal of beloved community that Martin Luther King and others have dreamed about and spoken about. But I know that even though we have those times when we can't get out of our own way, I know it's possible. I believe that with every fiber of my being. We can get there. Maybe not in my lifetime, but we have the capacity and the ability to make beloved community real. And that's my ministry. Doing what I can to get us to that point. The late Dr. Stephen Covey defines your voice as your unique personal significance. It lies at the nexus of talent, which is your natural gifts and your strengths, passion, those things that just naturally energize and excite and motivate and inspire you, need, including what the world needs enough to pay you to do, and conscience, that still small voice within that assures you of what is right and prompts you to actually do it. When you engage in work that taps your talent and fuels your passion, that rises out of a great need in the world that you feel drawn by conscience to meet, therein lies your voice, your calling, your soul's code. In my case, therein lies my ministry. Using my voice, my talents, my background, my experiences, my passion to do what my mind, my conscience, my heart, what love tells me to do. Heal the world from the inside out so we can do the outside-in work that our world so desperately needs. It means providing faith development and religious education for adults and children, helping them to learn what justice and equality look like. It means presenting spiritually nourishing worship that feeds you and keeps you motivated and encouraged to do the hard work. It means providing pastoral care and support when the going gets hard and you need an ear to listen, a shoulder to cry on, or just someone to sit next to you and say nothing. It means being engaged with our neighbors, especially those close by in Avondale and also in greater Cincinnati, the nation, and the world. It means connecting with our larger denomination and with the interfaith community. And it means providing and guiding the administrative structure to support it all. That's what I'm called to do. That's my ministry. I know it's a tall order. It's a lot, but you got to do when the Spirit says do. And I want to do that here in Cincinnati with you, if you'll have me. As part of my congregational studies class at seminary, I started thinking very carefully about the kind of church I wanted to serve and the things that are important to me. I want an older church. My home church was founded in 1796, and my intern congregation in 1865. It's not that I don't value our younger fellowships and congregations, but I'm a little bit of a history geek, as you will come to know. I treasure our older congregations with their long, rich, and yes, sometimes complicated histories. First U Cincinnati has that kind of history. When I took Mark Morrison Reed's class in the fall semester of 2015 and learned about your reconciliation with the Carter family, I cried. It made me so happy. To think that I could be here with you and have some small continuing part in that relationship is amazing. And when I talked to Mark about that this January, he cried. But if you know Mark, he always cries. I want a church in an urban area that is connected, really connected with and concerned about its neighborhood. You're invested in the empowerment and success of this area. You've been doing great work here. I've spent many hours on the phone with Sharon and Benjamin and Lisa Presley and others in this area learning about all the things you do. And I want to learn from you and work side by side with you to keep it up. And maybe even do more as the threat of gentrification looms and our government seems less interested in assisting and supporting those who would be left behind. I want a church that lives in a physical space where love is present. I've visited quite a few churches as a guest speaker and as part of this ministerial search process. Some of those spaces didn't necessarily feel welcoming to me, but when I walked in here, I could feel the warmth. I could feel the love and the life in this building. I want a church where people genuinely care about one another, where you laugh and you cry and you have fun together, On my first trip here, the weekend after the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, you know I had to get that in there. Sorry, Bengals fans. Linnea met me at the airport with a stuffed eagle, which I immediately named Swoop, which is the mascot's name. We took it with us everywhere. We took pictures of it. You've heard of Elf on a Shelf? Well, we had Swoop on a pulpit. We laughed and enjoyed ourselves, but we also got down to work and talked very seriously about this congregation. Its successes, its challenges, its struggles, its opportunities. And through that, I learned how you stick together as a community and how you support one another. You stay at the table, even when it's hard. I want a congregation where we can work together to transform society and work toward creating beloved community, toward ending classism, ableism, and racism, where we strive to end oppression and discrimination in all their ugly forms. And I probably need to say something here. As much as it shouldn't be an issue, and as much as we wish it wasn't an issue, it's a big deal for one of our congregations to call a minister of color. And as you may know, and maybe you've read in the most recent UU World, for a number of reasons, our experiences, not just ministers, but religious professionals of color, all of us, our experiences tend to be more difficult than those of our white colleagues. With my presence, I can't automatically fix every racial issue that exists. Nor can I magically diversify the congregation by my mere presence. Those are things that we have to work on together. And I bring this up now because I don't want you to be afraid to talk to me about that this week. It's a real thing. It's something that's front and center in our denomination right now. And I don't want you to be afraid of having the conversation for fear that you might offend me, or that you might do or say something wrong or hurtful. You might. Maybe you will. That's the reality that I live with as a Black UU and as a Black person in this country, period. But I'll let you know if you do or say something that hurts me. I won't ignore it. I won't pretend it didn't happen. I won't hold a grudge, and I won't let it fester. I'll simply say, ouch. And then, I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to put you on blast, as my niece says. Instead of calling you out, I'm going to call you in with love. I'm going to call you back into community. We can't do better and be better when we don't know better. That's what we're here to do together. So if you haven't figured this part out yet, I want to be your minister. Not just any minister, your minister. I want to serve you and learn with you and work side by side with you within these walls and out in the world. I want to know what you're proud of, your hopes, your dreams, your challenges, your disappointments for yourselves as individuals, for this congregation, for this city, and our faith. I want to hear your stories. And this week, I'll invite you to tell me your stories and I'll tell you mine. We'll get to know one another better, and hopefully we'll decide that we can do great things together in the years to come. I'm excited about the possibilities, and I hope you are too. So with that, let's sing. Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing hymn 1024 in the teal hymnal. When the Spirit says do.